That's what it was.
Button.
Okay, now it's
I see
going.
a red button.
So just go ahead and introduce yourselves and explain who you are, what you do, and how long you've been working in Extension for.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. No, go ahead.
I'm Robert Barton. I'm the Associate Dean of Extension for the College of Natural Resources at NC State, and I have been in Extension 22 years.
And I'm Bill Hubbard. I serve as the Southern Regional Extension Forester based at the University of Georgia. And I have been in Extension for close to 30 years.
Gotcha.
So I got you a few years. I started out younger.
You did. Different path.
That's right. That's right. Well, let's talk about that, Bob. So tell me a little bit about your extension experience, how you got involved, and maybe some kind of advice you'd give a younger you or somebody first starting in the profession.
I started as a brand new assistant professor, 100% extension, 22 years ago. And extension, 100% extension faculty, the whole thing was about tenure and going through that process. And what I really did to try to shape my career was I actually picked mentors to work with and everything. So I tried to find faculty that were champions within the department and asked them to be my mentoring committee. And I used that process actually for probably close to a decade.
Wow. That is cool. I actually stumbled into extension. I was based at the University of Florida and finished my master's work, and that was in extension type work. It was in working with private landowners, but I had no idea, no clue what extension was. And I was asked to fill in for a couple of faculty that were on sabbatical. One was in Cameroon, Africa, and the other left actually to take another job out in Oregon. So I taught forest management courses, forest econ, but also took over their extension roles. And I was lucky to have what I felt were great mentors back then. Dr. Alan Long and Dr. Mary Duryea provided me a lot of early guidance on how to hit the ground running and get started.
Yeah, mentoring was, it was probably key to me working my way up through the promotion process and everything. So mentors were key to the program. What was some of the, if you could look back, right? We got a lot of years between the two of us to look back and everything. What would be some things that you might do different or that you wish you knew about maybe going forward?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would probably spend more time early on in my career developing a program, developing an expertise that rather than being a part of several other programs, which we were all very good at and Extension is well known for, it'd be more interesting to say, okay, this is a path I want to follow, an expertise in taxation or economics or one of these. But as it was, the first day on the job, I was writing a forest stewardship grant and an urban forestry grant. So two opposite ends of the spectrum, from urban to rural and everything in between. So I would advise to try to stay as focused as you could early in your career.
Yeah. Probably one of the things I would have done different, I stumbled across, I applied for a job, it happened to be an extension job. Didn't know a whole lot about extension through graduate school and everything. It'd been nice to somehow learn more about extension in graduate school and learn a little bit more about programming and evaluation and the idea of measuring impacts of our programs and everything's really important in today's environment.
That's right. Yeah.
It would have been nice to know that stuff at the beginning.
Yeah, but we didn't have the tools we have now, and I don't think we were pushed as hard back when I started to show impact and. It was still a lot of outputs. How many people are you reaching? How many phone calls are you taking? And then eventually, when the internet was invented by Al Gore, how many emails are you responding to? So you're right, there's much more interest now in impact and these kinds of things. So come a long way.
Yeah, and now it's even going past the idea of counting how many phone calls or how many emails and everything. It's showing that longer term impact, measuring things 6 months, 12 months after a program or 2 years after a program to see that type of impact.
Yeah. Bob, I know you have a really have had a very successful career. One of the things I've enjoyed working with you on is the professional development through the webinars program. How did that come about as one of your, I'm assuming that's one of your success stories, but.
Well, it is. I think it's a good example of working together with colleagues across the states. You know, the idea of working with other people's truly is makes your programs grow and things. And it's people that are in positions like you know, as the regional extension force and everything, that's been able to help make us connect regionally. And it's those networks. And if you don't, you know, there'll be a lot of people that begin out in extension and things like that, that maybe doesn't have that type of regional connection that was kind of in place and everything. But, you know, seeking out those type of connections and building that network will definitely make your programs more successful.
Shortens your time span to get up to speed on critical issues and how to attack those in your own state.
Exactly.
Connecting across the region. And it doesn't hurt when there's money involved too, right? There's a lot of grant money out there with multi-state.
There is, and you know, not being afraid to take a chance on new technology and doing something new. Remember when we started those back in 2008, you know, there wasn't a lot of people doing that type of,
right.
of activity and programs, and, you know, taking on that new technology and the naysayers that, you know, we had to deal with and everything. So.
And having to put up with some of the early technical issues, right?
Yes.
Not nearly as bad as the old satellite dish days, but still.
No.
The internet has come a long way as far as video goes, high-speed video.
Exactly. So, you know, we're both busy people in our jobs, and these type of programs take a lot of time and things like that. How have you balanced, you know, your workload, family life, and I mean, especially you? I mean, every time I talk to you, you're somewhere else. You're never in the same place.
Yeah, that is a very, very good question. I'm not sure if I've figured that out yet, but I will say within the last 5 years, I've developed the ability to say no a little bit more, to be able to leave it at the office, most of the time at 5 o'clock. Definitely limit your weekend work. I know that's difficult to do, but you have to make a real cognizant effort to put down your phone, especially since it's a small computer now. You're always attached to that, and you're always thinking subconsciously about everything going on, right? Administratively, programmatically. So take, you know, whatever you need to cut it when you can. How about you? I haven't given that a lot of thought. That's a good question. You
know, so early in my career, it was always said you plan 60% of your time, and then you'll fill in the rest with the little pebbles. So if you think of a fishbowl and you fill it up with all the little pebbles and everything, you'll never get to the big project. So you put the few big projects, fill it about 60% with large rocks, and then the little pebbles is everything else that's unplanned and everything. But it's true, you got to balance that work life and family life. Family's important, and I was always a strong proponent of you know, trying to leave when the day was done. I left the work at work and went home and spent time with the family and things like that. Weekends, you know, there are times you got to work. I mean, as an extension person, I don't know how many night meetings I've done in my life and everything.
Right.
You know, but it's important to make the family events, spend time with the family and everything, because you know, when you have a strong family life, it just improves work life much better.
That's a good point. That's a good point. What are the successful characteristics of an extension professional? Be they state, area, county? What would you see if you were hiring an extension professional today? What would you encourage them to do?
The desire to help somebody.
Okay.
The desire to look at you know, people and help them to find ways to succeed at whatever they're trying to do. You know, so it's that kind of personality, kind of attitude. You know, you don't have to be a outgoing type of person to be successful in extension. You know, I'm an introvert. I tell you that. You know, the idea of going up and approaching people and stuff is not a strong suit of mine. But being willing to help people and put that effort in, and stepping out of those type of comfort zones and stuff to make people succeed is what I look for when looking for a new specialist or a new person to work in the counties.
It's great advice. Excellent.
Are there any stories that stand out in particular in your mind that you want to share, like of successes or failures or just learning moments?
That's a good question.
Or I always think
have
of
to think about that one.
the aha moments where you feel like, I got this.
There's no better feeling after your first presentation when you get positive feedback. Early on in your career, when you gave a presentation that you sweated over, you got your note cards out, you practiced, and then all it took was one person, one landowner, one professional, one administrator to say that was a great job, you did a really nice job.
Yeah, I mean,
And
the
that's
aha
important.
moments is like when you get that phone call from a landowner that said, I attended one of your meetings, 4 years ago, and they're now implementing something that you recommended and everything, and they called you up and told you that and everything, and then maybe asked you a
Yeah.
couple more questions, but, it's that type of feedback that you get that, to me, is very satisfying
Yeah.
from the job
Positive,
standpoint. and everything.
positive reinforcement.
There's gonna be failures, we have them all the times, it's part of the job, you learn from them and everything. I'm trying to, from a failure standpoint, gosh, I probably have more failures than I have successes and everything, but, usually telling somebody, giving advice to somebody, and then you go back and realize that you maybe gave them the wrong information and things, so it's important not to be afraid to tell them you don't know. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know, let me get back with you and stuff, that type of things. If you first don't succeed, try
Try
again,
again,
right? And everything.
Yeah, I think an aha moment for me too, is similar along those lines, is that you don't have to know everything. You don't have to be the expert and end all. You're human, and it's a human experience educating others, either one-on-one or with several of them. And so you just have to, speak to them from where they're coming from. What are their needs and interests, and you don't have to be afraid to say, I don't know the answer to that, I'll get back to you on it.
Yep, exactly.
A lot of times people think we're the experts. We don't know everything.
No, we don't, but that's.
You might, you do, you actually know a lot.
No, but that's where the network stuff plays in, right? You
Right.
build that network, then you have other people that may, if I have a forest health question, I'll reach out to somebody like David Coyle, who's the forest health expert. We don't have one in our
Right.
group and
Yeah.
everything. So building that network and making those connections and everything allows you to reach out to others and everything.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about Extension is we're a family, and we all want to help each other and stuff
True.
to succeed.
Yeah. And very similar with timber taxation.
Yeah.
We've asked Mark to help out on plenty of occasions, so. It's a good network, great network.
Great. Anything else to add?
Maybe more later.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine.
This was fun.
Cool.
I don't know if we